tell less stories and teach more. And the same batch, someone else would write, all those stories were fascinating. They remember the stories and they also remember this, the confirmation analysis. The confirmation analysis when I introduced this rotational degree of freedom. Confirmation analysis is a rotational degree of freedom. Molecules always dance. They are not sluggish people like us. We need music to dance. Molecules undergo perpetual dancing. It's called vibration, rotation and translation. Now, we have very, very intricate degrees of freedom for our palm. Yeah, our palm can rotate. And palm and hand all put together, and if you take hip downwards and leg, these are all various forms of dance. Right? To demonstrate molecules dance, I take some steps in the class. I show these steps in the class, and even after 20 years, they will ask, "Sir, do you still dance?" But they remember confirmation analysis lecture to register what is degree of freedom, and I tell that any form of dance is expression of allowed degrees of freedom. Allowed degrees of freedom for a molecule, one of those degrees of freedom is rotation, other one is vibration, and to demonstrate this rotational degree of freedom, I do this dance exercise which has largely worked. At least it involves some fun and laughter, because this is where I go beyond the traditional boundaries. I have, like, as a student, I was an outlier, so I can connect with those naughty kids in the class better. I was a last bencher by virtue of my height. So this is a long chain alkane. Long chain alkane, you give some poetic interpretation that at very low temperature, near absolute zero, and this molecule is still rotating. You see how beautifully they rotate. And it's all carbon-carbon single bond rotation. All carbon-carbon single bond rotation. They can rotate and take a globular shape, looks like a sphere. They can become a rod. They can skew themselves through a channel. If this is the channel through which this molecule has to go through, then they will become rod and they will go past. And once they cross the barrier and they can open up, they become a globular structure. Try to do this dance and move around in the class so that confirmation analysis becomes slightly more interesting than telling this. You study this slide, study that chapter, study this question. It's not going to get registered.